There we go. We got you
Can you
now.
hear me now?
We can. Thank you. That was our fault.
This August 18th, 2025 meeting of the Worcester Conservation Commission is now called to order. My name is Diane Frattoni. I'll be chairing this meeting. As part of this meeting, we will be holding hearings under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Regulations and the City of Worcester Wetlands Protection Ordinance and Regulations. The commissioners are volunteers who serve to enforce these laws and regulations to protect specific values identified as being important to Massachusetts and the City of Worcester. Commission decisions are based on these laws and regulations and are not arbitrary or based on personal likes or dislikes. It is important to the Commission that these hearings are held in a fair and equitable way for all parties involved. This requires that discussion takes place in a civil manner and that every individual in this meeting is treated respectfully. To facilitate this, the hearings take place in the order they are listed on the agenda, which is available by the door and online. First, the applicant will present an overview of the project to the Commission. Next, staff will provide comments on the proposed work. Then the Commission will then direct any questions it has to the applicant or staff. After the Commission is done questioning the applicant, the floor will be open to the public. Comments and questions must be directed to the chairperson, not to the applicant or the representative, and they must pertain to the regulations that the Commission oversees. For example, although you might have concerns over the traffic resulting from a particular project, the Conservation Commission does not regulate traffic, so traffic concerns will not be discussed in the meeting. Please note that while new points will be given ample time to present, repetitive comments will be cut short in the interest of having all parties be given an opportunity to speak. We ask that all applicants and members of the public please state their name and city or town of residence for the record. To manage remote participation during our hybrid meetings and prevent disruptions, all participants are automatically blocked from unmuting themselves, turning on their video, or sending chat messages. For remote participants who would like to comment on an item on our agenda, we ask that you use the raise hand feature in Zoom during the discussion on that item. If you are joined by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Staff will then call on members of the public one at a time and give them permission to unmute themselves. If you are joined by phone, you will then be able to unmute yourself by pressing *6. Would staff please introduce themselves?
Eric Flint, Division of Planning and Regulatory Services.
Maddie Vanderboom, Division of Planning and Regulatory Services.
Devin Canton, Commissioner.
Lindsay Nystrom, Commissioner.
Stuart, do we have you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We're just doing introductions. If you could just say your name and roll.
Stuart, can you introduce yourself?
I'm having a little trouble with my audio.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Can you introduce yourself?
This is Commissioner Kirschner.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any requests for continuances, postponements, or withdrawals?
Yes, we have 3 requests tonight. We have item number 3, 31 Randolph Road. That's a request to continue the public hearing to September 8th and extend the constructive grant deadline to September 30th. Item number 4, lots 9, 10, 11, and 12 Chester Street, request to postpone the public hearing to September 8th and extend the constructive grant deadline to September 30th. And item number 7, Green Hill Golf Course, that's also a request to postpone the public hearing to September 8th and extend the constructive grant deadline to September 30th.
I'll make a motion to continue or postpone items 3, 4, and 7 as just described.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner? Commissioner Kirschner?
Oh, looks like he signed off and he's probably gonna sign back in.
Since we have a quorum here, maybe we can just finish this roll call
Yeah.
vote and try and get him on after that.
Sure. Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Frattoni? Aye. First item, public hearing, request for determination of applicability, 7 Rockwell Street.
So the homeowner was unable to attend the meeting tonight, but I can give an overview. So Diana Blanchard is a resident of 7 Rockwell Street. This property abuts Leesville Pond. So she's looking to remove 2 trees from her property within the buffer zone. One tree being about 31 feet away, the other tree being about 43 feet away. So staff conducted a site visit and reviewed the trees. So the first tree is a white ash that is in poor health, affected by emerald ash borer. And then the second tree is a crab apple that is just kind of at the end of its life at this point and kind of starting to fail. So the applicant filed a request for determination of applicability to remove the trees, since it is within the buffer zone. Staff did review protocols for removing trees within buffer zone, so that she knows to leave the stumps and the roots in. The tree company was the original one that contacted us to let us know that they were hired to do work within the buffer zone, so they understand the wetlands regulation as well. Since it is within, 30 feet of the wetlands, she was required to file a request with us. Staff doesn't have any concerns with this at this time.
Okay. Commissioners, any concerns about the filing?
No.
Anyone here from the public with a concern? If you are online, raise your hand on Zoom, or *9 if you are on the phone. Over there. Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about, is the intent to remove the tree from the site completely, or are they just cutting in?
Yes. So they are going to cut it and drop it into their lawn and take it away.
Okay.
Yep.
Make a motion for a negative determination.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner? No. Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Petoni? Aye. All right. Next item, request for determination of applicability, St. Paul Drive right-of-way.
If the applicant's online, just raise your hand to request to be unmuted, and we can unmute you. That's *9 if you're dialed in, or just the raise hand button if you're on the app. Should be able to unmute yourself now, Matthew.
Yep, thank you. You would give me one quick second. Our wetland scientist is trying to get on to the meeting right now, so he'll be on momentarily, if that's okay.
Is there anything unusual tonight about logging in? No?
Is it Raphael, the wetland scientist?
No.
No. Okay.
Hello, I apologize. I'm sorry.
All right. No worries, Greg. You can go ahead and start explaining the project and introduce yourself to the commission.
Of course. Yes. Greg Russo, the wetland scientist with Weston and Sampson. I did the delineation of the stream banks here, and I prepared the RDA. to advance a couple of soil borings adjacent to the head wall that is proposed to be replaced during a future project. So we have 2 soil borings within the, well, one which is certainly proposed within the 25-foot riverfront area and the 15-foot no disturb zone. The other soil boring has 2 potential locations, and those are the final selection of one of those is dependent on the location of the underground utilities when they do the the dig safe survey to determine where the exact location of those. So depending on how those surveys come out, one of those borings may be also located within the 15-foot no disturb zone, or it may be located further out within the riverfront area. The entire site is located within bordering land subject to flooding.
Staff comments?
Yep, so this work is proposed within already disturbed areas, but as he mentioned, it is within borderland subject to flooding. Within their application, they review how grade will be returned to their current existing conditions and do meet performance standards. So at this time, staff doesn't have any concerns with this project.
Okay. Any of the commissioners, questions or concerns about the borings?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, if you can just talk a little bit about any special provisions that you're making as far as making sure any soils that are removed doesn't make its way into the intermittent stream, et cetera.
Yes, the boundary of the work area will be protected using straw wattle, and those are visible there on the plans. Yeah, that pattern that you're pointing to just there. So it'll be actually on both sides of the road, the opposite corner as well. It's not going to cross the road, obviously, so so as not to block the road, but it'll be contained as much as possible.
And any material that's removed, what's the plan?
It'll be backfilled once the boring is complete.
Okay. No temporary stockpiles or anything?
I don't believe, at least not long term. Matt, do you have a different answer? He's got his hand raised.
Yes, thank you. So the soil that gets temporarily removed out of the boring will be placed in a tub where the sampling will be taking place, and then it'll be backfilled within the same day back into the boring hole.
Great. Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Anyone online? Raise your hand on the Zoom app or *9 if you're on the phone. Okay.
Make a motion for a negative determination?
Second.
Do we have Stuart back yet? Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Frattoni? Aye. Right, all set. Number 5, notice of intent, 56 May Street.
Good evening.
Can you, is the microphone picking him up?
The Green?
Yeah, I think we got
Good
you.
Good evening. Rafael Hernandez with the designers of the project. Michael Rourke is on the stand. I believe Larry Green or somebody from McCarty Engineering should also be on.
You can go ahead.
Larry Green, if he's on, he can.
You can present.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, sorry. So, John Plifka, McCarty Engineering. here tonight representing the applicant. So we are here tonight proposing a multifamily housing development located at 56 May Street. The project recently received approval from the ZBA and the planning board, and we're filing this project under Worcester's local ordinance, as the project is approximately 53 feet from an existing catch basin in May Street. Project is consisting of a single building with associated site improvements. Stormwater created as a result of the proposed rooftop will be collected in a series of roof leaders and then conveyed to an underground infiltration basin located in the rear of the lot. And any runoff created as a result of the proposed pavement will be diverted to a catch basin that is also a water quality unit, and then conveyed to that same underground infiltration basin, and then diverted out to existing municipal stormwater infrastructure within May Street. So that's kind of my quick overview, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Staff comments on the project?
Yeah, so staff issued a comment letter with some requests for minor plan changes depicting perimeter erosion controls, which were added to a revised plan. We had a comment about standard 2 being peak rates of runoff. Those were shown to increase during all storm events except for the 2-year. We went back and forth with the applicant's engineer on this a bit. They're asserting ultimately that the site is subject to the stormwater standards only to the maximum extent practicable because it's a multifamily residential development between 5 and 9 units. So ultimately full compliance with the standard is not required. And they're also asserting that it's basically they've maxed out the size of the infiltration unit that they can for this site, and that's the reason they're not able to provide any additional peak rate attenuation. We also went back and forth on the mounding analysis, which staff is now fine with, and yeah, the only other initial comment that we had that was addressed was updating the precipitation totals to reflect the upper confidence interval of the NOAA Atlas 14 precipitation estimates. So at this point, staff doesn't have additional comments.
Okay. Questions, comments from commissioners? Do we have Stuart back yet? We do. Okay. I just have a few, and I'm not really sure who I'm addressing here, so whoever wants to take the question. You know, you stated that you have done everything practicable to achieve the you know, the maximum, I guess, flow control at the site. Could somebody please describe what could have been done that maybe is not practical on this project to address this?
Yeah, sure. So John Plifka again from McCarty Engineering. So the only way we could really not show an increase in the storm events over a 10-year is not maintaining the 2 feet of separation from groundwater, because in order to increase the system, we wouldn't be able to hold that 2-foot minimum. So this is the only standard that we're not meeting. We're meeting all the other standards, and as Mr. Flint mentioned, that since this is 5 to 9 units, it's only to the maximum extent practical. And the only other way to do that would be maybe a single family house. So there's real no way to not show an increase.
And so the issue for a single family house would be you just wouldn't need that much parking, so you would not have to develop as much of the lot.
Correct.
Correct. And how many residential units are in this project?
7 units. Rafael Hernandez, designer, Acropolis Design. The units have been approved by zoning and planning. and we have, there's 2 units per floor. Except for in the basement, there's 1 unit in storage area.
So, okay, and the parking design for it was in compliance with zoning, or was there an exception made?
There was a variance for the number of parking spaces to
So-
the approved amount
To
on
have,
the plans.
to have fewer parking spaces than normally required, correct?
Yes, correct.
If you could tell me a little bit about the front of the property, that none of that watershed is going to flow into this unit anyway, correct?
That's correct. The way it's pitched, it would be, there's a high point, so we're not accepting anything from the street or in the front, but yes, you're correct.
Is there any way to divert any of the impervious water flow into some type of a retention area at the front of the property?
We would be fighting the property setbacks, so we'd have to be 10 feet from the property line.
And I'm not thinking
And,
like an infiltration structure, but something more like just a bioretention area. I mean, have you looked at any of that to possibly take some of the load off of the city stormwater system?
So the front is mostly pervious, so it's not a ton that's gonna be going to the street from there. It's just that portion of driveway and then, kind of the landscaped area in the front.
Right, but is there any way to
It's-
divert some of what's hitting the driveway and/or the parking lot above, around the small pervious area you have available?
It'd be tough to do it at grade because your high point is located in, that front right-hand corner. So we're kind of fighting gravity on that. The way the existing topography. Like our high point is in that kind of southern corner.
And what's our laptops aren't working tonight, so what's
Oh,
the
sure.
grade differential from the back of the property to the front?
So the back, we're at a high point of about 520, and in the proposed parking lot, we're about 512.
So 520 at the front of the property and 512 in the parking lot.
Yeah, and it's kind of pitched from, page right to page left, also. So
Yep.
we're 520, in this very southern corner, and then down at 512 in the beginning of the driveway at the edge.
So I have sort of a 101 question for you, because I'm still relatively new to this, but what's the purpose of standard 2?
The standard 2 is it's to basically, all right, the standard 2 is the proposed, it's to aid in the peak discharge rates, for, pre and post development. However, that's for a project being fully required to meet the standards, and this is only required to, since we're 5 to 9, is only to the maximum extent practicable.
No, I understand, but what's the functional purpose of standard 2? Why do we even talk about it?
It's to mitigate pre and post discharges.
In lay
So
people,
basically that
Yeah.
sorry.
in lay people's term, for people who
Yeah,
may be in the
sure.
gallery
So
visiting.
it's,
Yeah,
basically, we analyze how much water goes, where the water goes pre-construction, and then post-construction, how much water is going to that same exact space.
so based on your presentation, there's more going to the May Street.
There is a
Stormwater
slight
system.
increase. Yes, that's going into the municipal drainage system. Already, the catch basin's located within May Street.
So functionally, during a rain event, more water enters the city stormwater system as a result of this project.
There's a slight increase in the 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm event. The 2-year, there's no increase.
Okay. And just collectively, so people understand that across the entire city, water entering the stormwater system all eventually reaches some natural body of water. Correct?
Are you asking me?
I am. I mean, the reason it
so-
matters is because it enters the city stormwater system and eventually ends up
I don't know
somewhere.
where this system ends up.
This ends up in Beaver Brook.
Okay.
Through the chair, John, would adding some kind of rain barrels or water storage to water the lawn and the grass and the trees in that area, what percentage would increase this? I mean, would that help, or would the board be open to that? The commission, excuse me?
I can only speak for myself. I don't know that rain barrels are a very effective or efficient way to divert water when you don't have a single-family home or one person responsible for managing them. But,
I'm just throwing out, you asked for alternatives, and I'm not, we're the designers, architects. I don't, just suggesting or trying to get a read.
Basically, the only way we could do this is if that we wouldn't be able to meet the standard of meeting that 2-foot offset, which is your standard 4, I believe.
The 2-foot offset, I guess, I mean, that would kind of fall under standard 3, I guess, for recharge, but it's
Yeah.
really more of a design element of the infiltration system
right, and the
itself.
issue is there's not enough separation beyond, they can't go any larger with
Yeah,
this.
so that's kind of where we're stuck between. We wouldn't be able to maintain standard 3 if we were trying to.
And I think the other option that was deemed infeasible was higher grading, correct? Like elevating the site by a foot could theoretically provide additional space and offset from the groundwater elevation where the infiltration basin is located, correct?
Correct, you would have to raise the site considerable amount.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Can you go back to the grading plan for a second? I'm not sure if I'm looking at the latest. So there's a bottom of wall elevation, where there's a curb. It says 512.8, and I'm just wondering, it looks like it's sloping back toward that little return here. So if this is 512, we've got 515, so it's sloping back. How are they dealing with water is my question here, right? So,
Where are you seeing the 5? Oh, sorry, I'm just not sure. You said you saw a 512.8.
yeah, so this is 512.8, and then we've got 515, and you're sloping back here. Is there any concern?
Oh, so I see what you're saying. Yeah, so that's a spot grade, kind of that little turnaround. And then if you look over at the rim of the proposed catch basin, that's a little 512.0. So everything's pitching back to that back left corner where the proposed catch basin is located.
To the back left corner, but do you have a high point between those two?
So that 512 that you pointed is essentially a high point. And then there's also a high point within the drive aisle where you see kind of midway through the building in the driveway at 513.1.
I think the 515 that you're seeing in the parking lot is existing grade.
That's existing,
Yeah.
okay, and so it just doesn't have the new grade shown. Got it, okay. So maybe that's a clarification for me, if you can just show the new proposed grades, and how they tie into the existing. That's what's confusing for me here.
Yeah, it's the wall. So a lot of those are picked up in the wall itself.
No,
So we
no,
do
so
have the,
Yeah, so I'm seeing the dash lines, which are the existing grades, right? And you're explaining to me
Correct.
that there are new grades which would show up a little different. You've got some newer grades, the 513 in the driveway on the left, right? And
Yes,
pretty
that's,
clear.
that's it. Yes,
So-
yeah, so we're not going higher than the 513 in the back. So that's why there's no proposed contours back there, and that's why we added the spot grade of that 512.8.
Got it, okay. Thank you.
Through the chair, if I could ask a question to the applicant, had you considered any measures for detention, strictly detention, rather than just infiltration that would allow a reduction in peak rates and still allow for an offset for the infiltration unit? Like a separate detention system that wasn't designed to infiltrate?
We had not, no, we showed for the infiltration.
Anything further from commissioners? Anyone here for this matter like to speak on it or online? Raise your hand function on Zoom or *9 if you're on the phone. Nobody? Okay. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Motion closed.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatoni? Aye.
So staff has drafted an order of conditions for the proposed project, in addition to the standard conditions. I guess starting off with a question for maybe Commissioner Canton, would you want to see revised plans that more clearly depict the grading in that back parking lot area? I see what you're saying about there's the 513 contour line, and then there's not much aside from
Yeah,
the
I
spot
think
grade.
it would help.
Okay.
Yep.
Even just
So-
in the center of the lot or something. I understand what the applicant's engineer is saying, but that was one of our initial comments too, that it was difficult to determine what the grading was in the back of the site.
Stuart, were you saying something?
John Clifford, McCarty Engineering, I don't know that can I still comment now that the public hearing's closed?
If you have a question about the order of conditions,
Okay, well, no, there is no 513 to be shown in the driveway. So we picked that up at the beginning of the driveway, it rides in the curb, hits the wall, goes into the foundation, and then just stays within that wall.
I think that part is understood. It's just, there's not a lot of visual cues as to proposed grading in the parking lot area. So even just adding an additional spot grade in the center
Okay,
of the thing
yep.
would be
All right,
helpful.
fair enough.
Yeah. We also have condition number 37 for stormwater management system maintenance, 38 for infiltration unit inspection, 39 for certification of stormwater infrastructure. Condition number 48 for dust control, 49 for dewatering, 50 for cement truck washing, 66 for sand and salt, with ongoing conditions 37 and 66.
No additional. Make a motion to issue the orders of conditions as just described.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatoni? Aye. All set, thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, number 6, 85 and 87 Boston Avenue.
Good evening, Chris Keenan from Quinn Engineering, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. We're here before you tonight with a filing under the local ordinance for construction in the stormwater protection zone with a multifamily development. There's an existing two-family home located at 85 Boston Ave, and they're proposing a 3-unit addition in the rear. Also included as part of the application is an expansion of the existing driveway and a stormwater system to collect existing stormwater, or proposed stormwater rather. We did receive a comment letter from staff last week or the week before, and I do believe we've addressed those comments that were presented in that letter. I did get an email from Eric this afternoon about a conversation that he had with the chair regarding the segmentation of the property, as number 89 and 87 were previously developed, and those areas were not necessarily included in our stormwater design as part of the application for 85 and 87. So I was hoping we could talk about the ramifications associated with that tonight. The development of the duplex at 87 and 89 were developed by someone other than the applicant. The applicant had sold off that lot to someone else, and they built out that lot approximately 2 or 3 years ago. So we weren't aware that the commission would require us to include the impervious areas associated with that development in our stormwater design. As it stands, the stormwater recharge that we provide in our infiltration basin far exceeds what was required under stormwater management. If I recall correctly, we're in the neighborhood of 4 times what is required under stormwater management. So even if we include the development at 87 and 89, we would still be in excess of the required recharge. We would also be in excess of the required water quality volume for treatment. I haven't looked at the requirements for peak flow rates based on the development at 87 and 89. That lot contained a significant amount of ledge outcrop at the surface and shallow to surface ledge. So I don't know that if we went back and did the math on the stormwater runoff for that lot, if it would increase the rates at all. Most of the developed area on that lot runs out to the street, so it would not affect our stormwater basin or the runoff to the properties in the rear, but there's a potential for a minor increase out to the street.
Okay, thank you. Staff comments or questions?
I don't have too much to add to that. That was a pretty good summary of staff's review of the project to date. As Chris mentioned, we issued a comment letter asking for some minor plan details, tree protection zone, erosion control barrier extension, and additional information about the soil logs, which was provided, and then also just kind of clarifying where on the site erosion control blankets would be placed to stabilize slopes. And I don't have too much to add to the discussion about the pre-existing duplex that was recently constructed. I guess I would just add that essentially the stormwater handbook for phased projects requires that all phases of a project be considered when determining compliance for the standards, which is why we raised it to the applicant today. But I would agree that at least as it relates to infiltration and water quality, they're clearly providing well in excess of what's required based on the required recharge volume for the impervious that's being added by this project, this proposal right now. Again, can't comment on how this would affect peak rates because we haven't seen those calculations, but nothing further from staff at this point.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or concerns about the project?
Not at this time.
I do have a question about the driveway.
Sure.
That's obviously also on the other parcel that's not owned by a common owner. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So just for my clarification, when you calculate the impervious surface, how did you deal with that driveway that has a property line partway through the middle of it?
The The property at 87 contains an easement for the construction or the expansion of the existing driveway. So all of the new impervious surface was included as part of the stormwater
Even
design.
though it wasn't on the parcel?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Got it. Any questions or comments from the public? Anyone here? Raise your hand on Zoom, *9 if you're on the phone. Anybody? No? Okay.
Make a motion to close?
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner? Commissioner Kirschner? Chopped off again. Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Frattoni, aye. Is that order of conditions?
Yes. So in addition to the standard conditions, we have 32 for trees to remain, 37 for stormwater management system maintenance, 39 for certification of stormwater infrastructure, 46 for wood removal, 48 for dust control, 49 for dewatering, 50 for cement truck washing, 66 for sand and salt with ongoing conditions, 37 and 66.
Any questions about the conditions? No. Any comments?
I have none. Make a motion to issue the orders of conditions as described?
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner? Okay. Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Frattoni, aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night. All right. Other business, project change request on Indian Lake.
Good evening. My name is Katie Liming, and I'm the Lakes and Ponds Coordinator for the City of Worcester. I'm appearing before the Commission tonight with a project change request to the current order of conditions for the lake. No, we're not asking for any change in conditions, just a change in application of currently approved management techniques. Our current permit includes the use of a lake winter drawdown to manage the invasive plant Eurasian milfoil. After an herbicide treatment eradicated the milfoil several years ago, the drawdown was discontinued. So today we're submitting a project change request to update this practice to apply it to the management of nuisance native plant species. This year there was pretty excessive overgrowth of the native plant Alodia, which provides some habitat, but impeded habitat in this case because of how thick and how dense it grew, not to mention its recreational impacts. So we'd like to do a drawdown over the winter to control some of the Alodia, some of the native plant growth to the extent possible, while still maintaining sufficient plants to provide habitat for aquatic organisms and keep the lake at a healthy balance, rather than having such extremes as we saw this year. It's very possible that additional management techniques could be necessary on top of the drawdown. To get to that point, it really depends on the exact conditions year to year. The exact plant growth is pretty hard to predict in advance of what the weather conditions and what the nutrient conditions are in the lake. But we'd like to start with a drawdown of 1.5 feet. Pretty recent research has shown that 1.5 feet is a height that is less likely to lead to some of the negative potential impacts of a drawdown. So a lake drawdown can, in some cases, shift plant species and populations towards the plant species that are unaffected by drawdowns. So a drawdown works by exposing the lake bed and exposing roots to freezing winter temperatures and killing those plants, which are typically perennial aquatic plants. Plants that are seed bearers, also known as annuals, which aren't overwintering, won't be affected by this technique. So in some cases, in some lakes, consistent, repeated, really intense drawdowns can lead you to a more difficult to control situation where you have plants that are unaffected by a drawdown and then you have to do something else entirely. So that's why we're planning to start with this more moderate approach. We're not requesting any changes to the actual conditions of the drawdown besides its applicability to additional species besides Eurasian milfoil. For this upcoming winter, if this project change request is accepted, we would plan to start with a 1.5 foot drawdown, but we would like to remain flexible to do that up to 3 feet if that 1.5 feet exposes less of the lake bed than we think. We don't have really high resolution bathymetry, really high resolution depth maps, so our goal is to expose enough of the shoreline that we think it's going to control some of the allodia and some of the native plants without completely exposing everything. So we would continue to monitor this and continue to collect data and try to make really informed decisions. And we'd certainly be moving forward with lots of information and lots of data. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any staff questions or comments?
Yeah, so as Katie mentioned, this is a management technique that was already approved under the existing order of conditions. The NOI that was filed for it specifically targeted Eurasian milfoil. Allodia was included in the notice of intent with a listed treatment method of chemical applications. So this project was permitted and approved as an ecological restoration limited project, which essentially is something within the wetlands protection regulations that allows for resource area alterations of this size. Obviously a drawdown affects a large portion of bank and land under water bodies, so filing as a limited project is what allows that to go forward under the regulatory framework of the WPA. And that doesn't just apply to invasive plant species. Native nuisance aquatic plant species are also an eligible category under the specific limited project provision that this NOI was filed under. So we talked about this with Mass DEP, inquiring as to whether or not this is something that's appropriate for the commission to review through a process like this, or if, you know, an amended order of conditions or a new notice of intent would be required to change the target species of an approved management method. And DEP was of the opinion that lake management orders of conditions are really things that should be able to change with time with regards to target species, just because the condition of the lake and the species that are present evolve over time as you continue to treat it. So that's why we recommended that DSR take this approach, coming to the commission through a project change request to discuss this, since it's already an approved management method. We have conditions related to the drawdown, which, as Katie mentioned, currently allow up to 3 feet, so there's no need to actually change any of the conditions that we have in the order. It would essentially just be a vote to find the proposed management methods in line with the existing order of conditions.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I've got a general question. So, so let's say you did go with the 3 foot option. Are you, or how dependent are you on the following year's rainfall to sort of make that up? And if it is like a drought condition, what are the options to sort of prevent, you know, further reduction of the water line? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So with a higher, with the up to 3 feet, I wouldn't expect that we would not be able to refill the lake to its full height. The refill happens in pretty much in the month of March, because the lake must reach its full level by April 1st. And so even if there is, I think drought conditions at that time of year are fairly unlikely. It is possible that we could get less rain than expected, but we would have many months of opportunity to kind of make that up before we would expect the water level to you know, before we'd start to get concerned about, you know, summertime low in water impacts.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you give an example of a seed-based invasive or non-native species that might proliferate if we were to reduce the root-based plants?
Sure. So one of the species is brittle naiad. It's an invasive plant. We have actually seen a good amount of brittle naiad in previous years in Indian Lake, but I think that was noted in 2020. So recently we haven't documented it. We don't always know exactly why certain species will be really impactful in one year and not in other years. So it's a degree of uncertainty there for sure, but that would be one of the examples as well.
And if something like that reemerged, is the treatment the same? Is it an herbicide to deal with it if it suddenly dominated the lake or interfered with recreational use?
It would depend a lot on the specifics. So an herbicide would be possible, mechanical harvesting or hand pulling or diver harvesting could also be possible depending on the extent. If we saw a proliferation of seed reproducing plants that were really, really dense around the entire shoreline, targeted herbicide treatment would likely be necessary just due to cost considerations, because physical removal is so much more expensive and so much slower. For large expanses, usually our only option is to go with herbicide treatments, but we'll be monitoring plant populations even more closely in response to the drawdown. So while it's never easy to say exactly what might happen, we would hope to catch kind of a change in that species composition early enough to have more options available.
And when was the last plant survey of the lake?
The most recent one was in 2022, and the next one will be happening this week. And that's part of just our normal kind of cycle. We usually do a comprehensive survey of the 4 water bodies that the Lakes and Ponds program has the greatest resources for every 3 years or so.
And then aside from the Alodia, which was treated this summer, I assume the herbicide doesn't know, it's just looking for Alodia. What other species would have potentially just been wiped out or a victim of the herbicidal treatment?
Sure. So the herbicide, and I guess, are you asking to clarify?
Well, the goal was the Alodia, but I assume the herbicide would have impacted any living plant that was in the treatment area.
For the herbicide treatment that was done this current summer?
This past summer.
Yes.
Yep.
So we used a broad spectrum herbicide. So there are there's some plants that could be a little resistant to it, but it will mostly impact lots of things. So there's some big leaf pondweed in some of the treatment areas that was likely impacted, but some of it did look like it wasn't entirely wiped out. And we did design this treatment at kind of the lowest dose possible to impact the Alodia without kind of going overboard. So plants that are maybe a little more resistant would have a greater chance at being able to resist those. Unfortunately, I don't have all of those possible species at the top of my head.
So in other words, anytime we treat or interfere or intervene, there's always a possibility we've given another species an opportunity to take this place of whatever we thought we might have removed for whatever methodology we removed it at.
In general terms, that's definitely true, and that would hold true for many types of physical removal as well, if you're trying to remove all of the plants from a certain area. With other types of herbicides that are more targeted, there are some types of herbicides that impact like a much smaller range of species. Those are more commonly formulated for invasive species because there's a greater market to target just the invasives and leave more native species alone. So again, that would really depend on the specifics of what you're doing, but everything does, of course.
Thank you. So the vote is really just to authorize the project change?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatoni? Aye. Thank you. Next up, request for certificate of compliance.
All right. So, first up, we have 37 Cobblestone Lane. So, this is a partial certificate of compliance request for a lot within the Country Club Acres. So, we have received a letter from a professional engineer certifying that the property was constructed according to the approved plans. Staff conducted a site visit on August 8th and have no concerns with the issuance of a partial COC.
Anyone have any questions?
Sorry, did you say partial?
Yep, partial.
So the motion to issue the partial COC is just described.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatoni? Aye. 1 Brussels Street?
All right, so up next we have 1 Brussels Street. This is also a partial certificate of compliance request. So essentially what happened with this property, so work was done on 3 and 5 Brussels Streets. And somehow 1 Brussels Street got included in the order of conditions. No work was actually done on this property. So the property owners recently discovered the order of conditions affecting their property. So they have submitted a request to remove their property, or essentially get a certificate of compliance to close out the order of conditions affecting their property. But so it's just a partial request for 1 Brussels Street.
Questions?
Make a motion to issue the partial COC for Brussels.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatoni? Aye. Next item up, I am recusing myself, so I am turning the meeting over to Commissioner Canton.
All right, so this certificate of compliance request is for 224 Brook Street. So an order of conditions was issued back in 2020 for the construction of 2 triplexes and associated driveway, stormwater infrastructure, utilities, and stormwater infrastructure. A letter was received from a professional engineer confirming substantial compliance with the approved plans. Staff completed a site visit on August 12th and confirmed the site is fully stabilized at this point. So staff has no concerns with a full certificate of compliance being issued.
So moved.
Second.
On the order, Commissioner Kirschner,
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom,
Aye.
Commissioner Canton, aye.
Uh, 348 Salisbury Street.
And I can take this one. So this was a single-family home that involved a wetland crossing. The wetland crossing had actually been permitted years prior. They had installed the crossing but never fully constructed the driveway or the house. So a few years ago, they came in for permitting again to construct the house, finish the driveway. And so, yeah, we conducted a site visit today. Some areas of grass that were patchy and had yet to fully establish, but overall the site looked in pretty good shape. There were permanent markers installed along the 15-foot buffer zone as a condition. I spoke with the homeowner today who was talking about all the things he's planning to do with the property, and I introduced him to wetlands regulations and the permitting processes that he'll have to go through. And so he'll be coming in soon for some decks and porches and things like that. But staff has no concerns with the finished construction, so we'd recommend the issuance of a COC at this point.
Do you have an aerial of this property since we can't?
Yes. Or I guess you have to do that.
Just sort of a procedural question. For these certificates of compliance to be on our agenda, they have the same requirement to file ahead of the meeting, or can they come in later?
As far as the filing deadline,
Yeah.
yeah, so we can be a little more flexible with certificate of compliance requests in relation to the filing deadline, because we don't have to post legal ads for them in the Telegram, which is the main driver of when we have to accept any new like NOIs or things that we have to advertise hearings for. Was this received like too close to the meeting?
Yeah, normally I look at them and I'm like, I don't remember this one. Okay, so you're saying that so how recent is, oh, this is a recent photo.
Yes, it's from April 10th, 2025.
And I believe I believe you said the communication with the engineer was that the subsurface infiltration system went in last, which I believe was in the front side of the house.
Yeah.
Or let me see if I have the
On the
plans up.
Salisbury Street side.
On the Salisbury Street side,
Yeah.
okay.
So essentially where this little truck is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you're satisfied that it looks like it's where it should be?
Yes.
Make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 348 Salzburg.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Tony, aye. 70 and 72 Valmore.
All right, so last one up. So this is a partial certificate of compliance request for 70 and 72 Valmore Streets. So this was a part of let's see, they're constructing 4 duplexes. So this is one of the 4 duplexes. So this one has been complete. Staff did conduct a site visit on last week. There was a stockpile area on the site, and we reached out to the applicant and notified them, hey, there's still a stockpile, and they did go out and remove it and reseed that area. So at this point, staff doesn't have a concern with issuing that partial certificate of compliance.
Did, when they reseeded, were they keeping up with watering so that there's some growth that's starting?
Yep, and they kind of laid down some hay to kind of cover it up, or straw.
Okay, cool. Sure,
Yeah.
sure, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 7072 Valmore Street.
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Tony, aye. Enforcement orders.
All right, so we have a couple updates today. So first up, we have a new enforcement order that was issued by staff since the last meeting for 1259 West Boylston Street. This is a property that's right on the edge of the municipal boundary with the town of West Boylston. There is a stream that's mapped as a perennial stream that flows towards Gates Brook to the north in West Boylston that runs through this property. It's the same stream that we recently reviewed a project across the street for a single-family home with a wetland crossing just a little further downstream at this site. So we had noted some minor construction activities like stockpiling, a little bit of grading back in April when we were doing a site visit at the adjacent property. And we had reached out to the property owner, informing them of the commission's jurisdiction with regards to work in the proximity to wetlands, basically telling them not to do anything further without a permit and to stabilize any exposed areas that were still present on site. And in subsequent site visits in May, June, July, we noted continued activities, so we issued an enforcement order for the site that's located within Worcester. The same property owner owns the adjacent parcels across the town line in West Boylston, and the majority of this activity is on those, but our jurisdiction obviously is limited to the limits of the city, so anything that we have required in this EO is strictly limited to the parcel in the city of Worcester. So the stockpiles that you can kind of see on the top right corner of the screen are at the top of a slope that is directly adjacent to a bordering vegetated wetland. It was evident that there was fill within the BVW because you could see like fresh sediment on top of obligate plant species like purple loosestrife and skunk cabbage. It was basically all wetland vegetation. You could see the saturation in the soil after no rain for I don't know how many days. So it was quite evidently a wetland even from standing on the side of the road. We issued the enforcement order requiring the property owner to hire a wetland scientist to come up with a report detailing the quantification of resource area impacts as a result of this fill and alteration, and then to come up with a remediation plan. We forwarded this to the Town of West Boylston Conservation Commission as well. They met to discuss this on August 4th. Maddie and I met with the West Boylston Conservation Commission chair and the property owner today. We hadn't had much luck getting in touch with the property owner until late last week when we were able to organize a meeting for today to talk about this. And the property owner has agreed to bring on a wetland scientist to prepare the report that we've asked for, and we plan to continue to cooperate with the West Boylston Conservation Commission on any enforcement actions so that any restoration activities are aligned. My understanding is that the owner intends to develop the parcel at some point in time, the West Boylston side parcels, but that's kind of a separate issue at this point. So we had originally required that report for this past Friday, which obviously hasn't happened, and that the applicant come to tonight's meeting, but when we met this morning, we agreed to push off their meeting with the commission to the next meeting when they should have ideally an update on having brought on a consultant, hopefully have a report by the next meeting. If not, hopefully soon thereafter. I know 3 weeks is probably a optimistic timeline if they haven't brought anybody on yet to get a report, but we were feeling a little discouraged about this one until our meeting this morning when we actually were able to discuss this with the property owner who seems willing to move forward to resolve this. So happy to answer any questions that the commission has. Since this was an EO issued by staff since the last meeting, we would just be looking for a ratification vote tonight. If there's any additional requirements the commission wanted to impose, we could amend the enforcement order. Otherwise, we can just ratify it and then discuss this with the property owner at the next meeting in September.
And your experience with him today was he understood the concerns?
Yes. So his initial reaction was frustration. It sounds like he has lived near this area for a very long time and is very familiar with it, and there used to be the stream used to be piped through Fairchild Street supposedly, but it's been at least 40 years since the stream has been flowing through the property. It sounds like it might have been a man-made diversion at some point because there's apparently wooden bottomed channels. Again, we haven't seen that, but that's what the property owner told us today. His original assertion was that, there's no wetlands here, it's just a broken drainage pipe that's causing these issues on my property, but we were able to kind of get a mutual understanding of what was jurisdictional regardless of previously existing infrastructure, because now there's a jurisdictional stream and vegetated wetland on the property, and he seems to understand that at this point and wants to just move forward to resolve this so he can be
Right,
free of this violation.
And DCR is also
so
aware of this property, so he knows the state is also looking.
Correct, yeah, so we've talked to both DCR and DEP about this. DCR has involvement in this due to the Watershed Act, which I'm not very familiar with, but this part of the city is located within an outstanding resource water area as due to its proximity to drinking water supplies. So DCR has involvement in placement of fill within wetland areas or work within within a buffer zone to the bank. And DEP obviously also has, they receive all of our enforcement orders, so we talked to them about this one as well. They just wanted to make sure that we were able to coordinate with West Boylston on this because a majority of the violation is in West Boylston, and it can be tricky coordinating across municipalities. But I think based on today's meeting, it seems like the chair is willing to stay in regular communication with us. They don't have full-time agent support in West Boylston, so it sounds like the commissioners do a lot of the heavy lifting over there. So we're happy to, work with them and try to get a favorable outcome for the wetland on this property.
Thank you. So is there a motion to?
Make a motion to notify.
Second.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner, aye. Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Frattoni, aye. That's why I keep my list in front of me.
All right, and then next up, this is not an enforcement order, this was just a violation that we wanted to make the commission aware of. This is at 757 Salisbury Street. There's two big projects up there right now. We have Salisbury Hill, which is the big residential development adjacent to this one, which we do still have an active enforcement order for. And then there's this site, which we had previously had an enforcement order for with similar issues, different root causes. Last time there was a kind of a connection from a temporary sediment basin that was basically just discharging water into Salisbury Street via this driveway. The problem with this site is that it's very large and it all converges down to this one point, which is the driveway, and it flows into the street from there. Last time it was flowing about, you could see turbid water half a mile down Salisbury Street, so every catch basin along that way it was hitting. I think it was a similar case when Maddie was out there a couple weeks ago. This was after a 2-inch rain event. So their engineer, who was serving as a third-party environmental monitor of the site, came up with a list of action items to do in order to bring stabilization to the site to prevent this from recurring. The main focus of that recommendation was really just shifting prioritization of resources on site to getting things to final grade and stabilizing them, because the issue right now is that so much of the site is just open dirt, and it's been like that for a long time. So every time we get a big rain event, there's a big turbid runoff, and they need to really just be getting driveways and parking areas to grade and paving them, getting landscaped areas to grade and seeding them. So that's going to be the focus of their efforts in the coming weeks. We had some challenges getting a response to our violation notice. We did hear from the development team today. It sounds like the project manager who was in charge of this previously had left the company, so there was a falling through the cracks in terms of the response to this email, although the whole team as well as the contractor was copied on it. So in our view, we still feel there should have been more done by now, but luckily there hasn't been another rain event since then, so we haven't had a recurrence of this issue. But there's some immediate patchwork items that need to be done as soon as possible, so we're going to go out this week to make sure that those have been completed now that they're aware of what we're asking them to do. We were leaning towards issuing or recommending the issuance of an enforcement order at tonight's meeting if we hadn't received a response or any indication that action was being taken, but based on the phone call I had today with the developer, I think they are aware of this, but I think we need to keep a close eye on the site and make sure that they actually follow through and that there's no continued issues, because if there are, we certainly need to issue another enforcement order. So right now I'm waiting on a timeline of actions to bring long-term stability to the site. Reinforced that was our priority at the moment in my phone call with the developer this morning. Their engineer was unavailable to attend tonight's meeting, and I suggested that the developer come to the next meeting with that list and timeline of actions to be completed so that they can discuss it with the commission and make sure that you guys are comfortable with what they're doing to get the site stable long term. So again, this was a violation notice that we issued. We don't need a vote from the commission unless the commission wants to take additional action. But again, happy to answer questions if the commission has any.
So, we had similar type of silt runoff on other projects, and the DPW required them to jet the storm drains. They're not requiring it here, or?
I think sewers just wasn't aware of this incident. We could ask them to similarly look at the catch basins.
I was just thinking, it should be similar treatment for similar
Yeah.
violations.
They previously had to vac out the catch basins as well, so.
What's that?
They had to previously do that for this project as well.
Yeah.
Last time this happened. We can ask sewers to take a look at it.
I have something. So they've known about this and they've come up with a solution. And now we're waiting until 3 weeks from now to the next meeting to see if they're first going to start. In my mind, there should be some action already taken before the next meeting.
Yes, agreed. And there should have been action taken before today. We had asked them to do it last week, but we're not suggesting that they hold off on doing anything until the next meeting. We're expecting them to install additional perimeter erosion controls today and tomorrow, which we plan on inspecting later this week. But what they're planning to come back with at the next meeting is a timeline for the larger stabilization of the site, which is going to involve a lot more site work and grading and final stabilization to get those areas finished. So that's something we'll certainly be in communication with the project team about between now and the next meeting, but we are also expecting the immediate perimeter controls, specifically the perimeter controls along the edge of the driveway, what we want to see addressed immediately.
Sorry.
I agree, because if they come to the next meeting and nothing's done, I'm not necessarily going to be in very good graces.
Yeah, I think if nothing's done by the end of this week, staff would probably issue an enforcement order on our own.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
So in the email exchange on this topic, I don't remember who it was that said, well, maybe we should have phased this project, which clearly they should have. So, I mean, would it have been in our commission's control to require the phasing for this very reason? And I mean, not that I'm armchair quarterbacking the decision made at the time, but, you know.
Yes, the commission could, and we did look at a phasing plan in some detail at the beginning of this project, because it was, it's another one of these, I think we see these frequently where there are very large sites that involve a significant amount of earthwork that result in a lot of open ground, which is obviously a problem when it comes to stormwater runoff. I think if you think back to the Grafton Woods project we reviewed recently on Brant Lane is an example of how the commission can kind of condition the phasing of a certain project to require certain sections of it to be done before moving on to the next phase. So yes, it's certainly within the commission's purview to do that during the permitting process, or during enforcement proceedings if things don't go according to plan. But I remember when this project came in for permitting, it was a staff concern that this would be a potential issue, just given how the site all drains down to this low point, which goes directly to the street.
Right, so there's not an enforcement order on this one yet.
Correct.
Okay. Next. Anything else? Okay, discussion of active projects,
Nothing from staff this week.
open space,
Nothing from staff this week either.
communications.
Yeah, so one I would just call out is that we did receive an appeal of the order of conditions that was issued for 522 Grove Street. This was the retroactive notice of intent that was filed as required by an enforcement order for the unpermitted installation of a dock and deck on Indian Lake. It's an abutter that's appealing this decision because they don't like the location of the dock. We had communicated with the abutter and explained the commission's purview related to performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act, but they were interested in proceeding with the appeal process, so we have a site visit set up with DEP and the applicant for August 25th. At that point, DEP can either revert jurisdiction to the commission, which just means our order of conditions stands. They can supersede it with an order of conditions of their own, or they can make the applicant come back with changes, so we'll see what happens. But, and then no comments on any of the remaining communications. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, no comments on?
No comments on the remaining communications on the list.
Okay. So approval of minutes from June 9th, June 30th, and July 21st, wow, somebody was productive. Can we approve them together? Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Commissioner Canton?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Aye.
Commissioner Nystrom?
Aye.
Commissioner Fertoni? Aye. Anything on policies and procedures? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I was gonna say
All in
no.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Stuart.